Wait, hold on. Is everything working? Okay, we had a little technical difficulty
Now
there.
I
Hey,
hear you,
everybody, sorry about
Fitzy.
that in the live stream. Let's reset the podcast in 3, 2,
What?
1. Just 11 days remain until the one game that determines who rules all of football. Champ Sunday, firmly entrenched in our rear view, yet we still can't keep talking about what happened in the AFC title game, mixed in with our feelings of sympathy for Josh Allen. Will he ever get over the hurdle that is LeBron James? Plus, so many different coaching moves for the New England Patriots. And the weird thing is, everyone seems to love them. We've got adults back in the room. Is there a reason for us to be, dare I say, overconfident at this point in what's going to happen for the 2025 Patriots and their Pro Bowl quarterback? That's right, Drake May. All this and more on the latest edition of Six Rings and Football Things as we record live on the Fitzy GFY and WEEI socials here on Wednesday, January 29th, 2025. It's Miss Megan Ottolini joining the podcast party alongside your old pal, Nick Fitzy Stevens here. Mego, happy to have you back on the podcast as
Thank
always. All right, so you just like the rest of us enjoyed the final Sunday. Well, see, your perspective is a little different because your enjoyment was kind of mitigated by the results, obviously. The first game, just before we even get into what happened in the final game, just sort of take me through the found money approach that you were able to at least enjoy the start of the NFC Championship with. And did the results ultimately surprise you, frustrate you? Where are you now with your Manders?
Before we get to that, can I
Yeah.
comment on your intro? Were you intentionally calling Patrick Mahomes LeBron James because he's taken an NBA approach to perhaps goosing the reffing situation a little bit?
Maybe this. You can't say that everything's an accident in this life.
It's a happy accident, maybe.
It is.
Yeah. So my found money approach. I never expected the Commanders to be in the NFC Championship in my wildest dreams with the first year of Jaden Daniels. I came out of that game going, hey, you were down your best run stopper and you're going against Saquon Barkley. That is a losing recipe for anybody entering that game. And so while I was disappointed through the first half because it was pretty clear once it got to 14-12, we know which way this game is going for Philly, I kind of got back down to reality by halftime and said, the future's really bright for that team. And then I felt kind of angry because I go, now I have to watch Patrick Mahomes again.
Right. You were like the rest of us, like, hey, I wanted a decent first game, whether you were a Commanders fan. Obviously, Eagles fans went bonkers. They filled the streets of Philadelphia like the filthy fanimals that they are once again. But I always like, if I have a game on the line, if I have like emotional stakes in a game, especially if it's a divisional wild card or Champ Sunday, I want to be the early game because I want to get that out of the way. The anxiety you feel if you're the night game, just watch it. Like, I can't even watch it and enjoy the first game. Whereas at least if I'm celebrating, then the night game is a bonus Jonas. And if you lose, at least it's like you get over it. You send all the tweets. Maybe you record a stupid, regrettable video. And then you get into the late first quarter, early second quarter of the opposite title game, pour a frosty beverage and just sit back and just say, maybe at least a couple hours of good theater will ease my pain for the night. And we got the good theater. It's just that theater went the same way. Like, it just felt like I've already seen this show before. All they do is just tweak the ending a little bit, but like the script is like 90 to 95% the same every time.
And I came away from, honestly, the entire playoffs up to the Super Bowl, but especially Championship Sunday, looking at the way Josh Allen started that game. I thought that he looked really anxious. He did not look himself. He didn't look like the Superman that we've seen him be all season. And I came away from the entire playoffs going, man, the ball security turnover thing is very real in today's NFL. That's something that Bill Belichick preached for decades, that before you win the game, you have to learn how to not lose.
Yep.
And I think in the past couple of years, we've thought to ourselves, well, when you have a quarterback that's as strong as Josh Allen, he can be a human eraser. He can make these tremendous plays, these chunk plays that virtually erase the mistakes that you make with something like ball security. And that will get you to a conference championship game. But when you're going up against a dynasty like KC,
right,
and you're that falls short. And so, if anything, I guess this is my roundabout way of saying Bill was once again right about this. You will get very far with extreme talent and good coaching, but without the elite coaching and the approach that he taught to the game, you won't get to the Super Bowl.
Yep, it's not about ego, as he said on the Let's Go podcast this week. It's really about the players. Players play and players win. And we can point out a bunch of those things in just a second. It was an interesting clip earlier that made the rounds. Julian Edelman was on the Jim Rome show of all places. And Jim Rome asked him, like, hey, do you think the NFL is rigged? Do you think there are these predetermined outcomes?
So stupid.
I know. It's just a fun conspiracy theory
I
to
know,
play
but
with,
it's
nobody
so
honestly,
dumb.
no one honestly believes that there's a writer's room. No
Some
one
people
thinks that there's a deep football state beneath 345 Park Avenue where people are hatching different ways to keep things alive or to keep their preferred storylines progressing. Now, do people make mistakes? Yes. Are there ways in which I'm sure there are outcomes they would perhaps prefer? Sure. Do I think that they literally like hit a buzzer in a referee's pocket and he's like, oh, that must mean I need to make this 4th and 1 short? No, it's not that overt. And Edelman's point was, do referees drop the ball when they have a gotta have it catch? And if anyone knows what a gotta have it catch is, it's Julian Edelman, referring to Dalton Kincaid, sadly. Said, do the referees continue calling the same 4th and 1 tush push to the same side of the line that allows for a brilliant defensive coordinator like Steve Spagnuolo to adjust? No, he's like, people need to actually take ownership of their own actions. Was the officiating bad? Yes. Could it be better? Of course. Do we need maybe a technological intervention to prevent some of these, ball placement miscues and whatnot going forward? I'd be for it. I'm not sure if the football audience en masse is, but yeah, you can't panic. You have to play. Don't go away from what worked. Be creative and be ready to adapt and adjust, but don't abandon what got you there in the first place. Josh Allen is what got you there. You have to let him do what he does best, and don't just insist that your plan is best.
While we're on the refs, can we revisit, even in the loss for my fandom, the most fun moment of the weekend with all of us learning that a ref can basically award a score in the Commanders. Eagles game?
I was Sunday years old when I found out that a referee can just say, you know what? No. That's enough out of you, young man. You get a touchdown.
Listen, Lavu, you jump over like my favorite meme, Free Willy, jumping over the kid with his hand in the air. You do that one more time, we're just giving this touchdown to the Eagles.
That's the referee's equivalent of parents saying, why? Because I said so. That's why.
Yeah, so I know that there's always going to be a lot of ref talk as you get into super teams or dynastic teams, because it's like, oh, are we witnessing greatness, or is this team just getting a lot of calls? It happens in every league. I agree. I think especially the tush push with Josh Allen, the spot there, very frustrating. I would be incredibly bummed out, and I'd have much stronger feelings if I was a Bills fan. But honestly, I'm more just bummed by the Super Bowl that it's like, great, we got this rematch again. It's probably going to be good for ratings, is the one thing I'll say. People act like they always want parity in these leagues. Parity actually isn't usually great for ratings.
No, it's not. You need a villain. You need a good guy and a bad guy, someone to root for, someone to root against. That's what people love. And I don't know if you saw the ratings. Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Highest rated NFL game on Fox in ages, like 46 million viewers, almost 58 million viewers Sunday night for the AFC Championship. That was by far the highest rated AFC Championship of all time. So for the football is dying crowd, like, sorry, it ain't. And to your point, Mego, there clearly was come on, Josh, this time when you push the rock up the hill, you're going to get it over the top for a change. Like, you'll get the grapes when you reach this time. Like, no.
Yeah, I feel really bad for him. I really do. I feel terrible for Buffalo.
Oh, heartbreaking. Oh, just seeing him sitting, like, just trying to imagine what was going on behind his eyes when he's just sitting there after he heroically heaves that ball in the direction of Dalton Kincaid and it falls incomplete, knowing he did everything he could. Last year, Bass misses, yet Josh gets the L. 2 years prior, the multiple touchdowns in the fourth quarter to Gabe Davis. For some reason, their defense falls asleep at the wheel with 13 seconds left. He gets the L hung on him again. And now this year, everything he can, pushing, shoving, throwing, calling, scraping, chucking, everything. And yet still, once again, the narrative gets hung on him, which is so unfair.
So speaking of narratives, I'm wondering what you thought about Ben Solak, who I think is a tremendous analyst. He had this video breakdown on social media, basically saying, why didn't Josh Allen throw this, what is it, orbital, whatever?
Yeah, no, because so basically what he was saying was, and I actually, funny thing is, I wanted to bring that, we can address it now, but I actually wanted to have you and Shime on another Six Ring sometime soon to do sort of like a forum on our nerds ruining football.
Well, no, it's not even that. I think just touching on it quickly, the backlash that he got for breaking down the film from
quarterbacks,
professional quarterbacks saying, hey man, like, it's not that easy when you've got the pass rush coming at you and you're getting the crap knocked out of you. Try it for once. I kind of like saw both sides of it. You know, it's his job to look at things and say, this is where it could have been better. This is where it could have been won.
Then what do you want him to, what do you want him to do, right? What's he expected to do?
But at the same time, I think it's well within any quarterback's rights to say, you go out there and try it, you know, because most of us talking about the game haven't. I just thought it was kind of an interesting back and forth that I haven't seen a ton of with these guys who, outside of Dan Orlovsky, someone who played, anytime Dan Orlovsky is kind of critical of somebody, it's like, hey, well, why don't you try to, you know, keep your feet in the end zone? And it's like, okay, well, are we allowed to say something about the situations or not? You know, and I see both sides, but I thought that was kind of an interesting Monday morning quarterback literally debate.
I think it was one of the best ones. And while I don't necessarily think that the analytics nation and the DVOA holes and the EPAs are ruining the game by stretch, I can see his point, but I feel like it was almost warranted. And I think it's mostly due to everybody feeling empathy towards Josh Allen that led Ryan Leaf and Ryan Fitzpatrick and every other quarterback named Ryan in the NFL to want to quote tweet that and address what he had to say. I mean, now Shakir was cut so it's he's saying, like, if you see the overload blitz on the right side of the line, you should, he's got to look. Josh was so committed, believing that space where Kincaid came open was going to be open, and it was. So he believed in the call.
But it was across the body. It was on
Kincaid came open here. He easily could have gotten the first down, and he's a sure-handed slot receiver, go-to valve type of guy. I see what Solak is saying, but I also see what the quarterbacks are saying, because he's taking a clinical all-22 approach, which allows you to watch the surgery happen through the glass windows outside of the operating room. Josh Allen is the person who actually has blood on his hands and sees the guts and organs right there in front of him.
And he still made a possible play at the end of the day. Like, it's not like he threw a ball that was so completely a hospital ball or totally overthrown or anything like that. It was still a play that could have been completed. So maybe I guess people don't like the ticky-tack watching from your swivel chair, as I think Ryan Fitzpatrick said.
Right, yeah.
But I think that's an interesting debate. And I agree with Shime, because I think he's a little bit more into the all-22 world than either of us are. And so I would love to hear his response to that. Hopefully it'll still be in the ether that we can discuss next time.
I think it's going to be pretty germane to the conversation for a while to come. I think there's going to be some relevance to the analysts, the PFFs and the Mina Kimes of the world versus the people who actually strapped them on and laced them up. It's a fun debate.
Don't go for Mina. Come on.
I love her. Oh, are you kidding me? I love her. Although she's not number one. She's not number one favorite analyst in Patriots Nation these days, after she said, and understandably so, that she was high on the Patriots defense and thought it could be a top 5 unit last season. It's not her fault that they underperformed wildly, and it was dysfunction junction at one Patriots place this past season. I agree with Jeff Stenberg, who's watching live on YouTube right now. Dalton Kincaid dropped the ball. Josh did throw a catchable ball under impossible circumstances. Kincaid's got to live with that. It wasn't as rough as Mark Andrews' drop. That was even worse. Oh. So many bad tight end drops. See, and again, it's one thing if the referees are going to do a little something to just basically, tilt the fulcrum towards or in the direction of the Chiefs. But why do all these tight ends keep having to drop balls that, like the drops always end up favoring the Chiefs as well. It's fascinating how these things go well, but this is what happens when you're the better team. You do make the plays, and the pressure is on the other team. Like you said, Josh looked a little geeked up early in the game.
Mhm.
That anxiety, those nerves and intensities end up manifesting themselves sometimes in people not making an easy read or people dropping a ball in winning time. That's just how it goes. So hating the Chiefs is just hating the fact that they're really freaking good. Damn it.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. And because I didn't grow up a Patriots fan, I'm now living through this twice.
Oh, jeez, God. Hey, real quick, what do you? We'll get into it more next week as well, but an early sort of leaning toward feeling about SB 59, the rematch between the Eagles and the Chefs, kind of like how the Patriots lost a big one to the Giants, and a few years later they got their shot, and then yet the same outcome played out again, just in a different way.
So my feeling is mostly based on the argument between that others have between Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes, and people jumping the gun now saying that if Patrick Mahomes three-peats, that he's the greatest quarterback of all time. And I'm
Oh,
actually going to write
nuts.
about this for EEI this week. I
Good.
really disagree with that, and it's going to really bother me if that's the narrative that comes out of the Super
Hmm.
Bowl if Patrick Mahomes wins. The Eagles, to me, clearly have a better top to bottom roster. Obviously, Jalen Hurts is not a perfect quarterback. He's not a top 5 quarterback in my book at this point, even though he's in the Super Bowl. So I think that I still have to give the edge to the Chiefs because they have this weird inevitability to them that
Yes.
feels very old
Yes.
New England like.
It's very
But I,
Thanos. It's very like no
yeah,
matter what, all roads lead back
and they
to the
have
Chiefs.
fantastic coaching. I mean, they I know we're going to get to evaluating the new Patriots staff as it's developing, but I do think the Chiefs have the best coaching staff in the league. And so what you're really looking at to me is a battle between the best coaching staff and game planning versus the best roster
Right.
of players. And that's a really interesting showdown. I
Mm.
just am jumping on the side of wanting the Eagles to win because I don't want this three-peat to suddenly catapult Patrick Mahomes above the quarterback that I covered that I think is the greatest of all time.
Yeah. I mean, I have nothing against the Chiefs. Honestly, I have got a ton of Chiefs friends in my life. I know people want to hear like, yeah, Fitzy, tell them they're not the GOAT and they suck and you don't want to see them three-peat. I don't care. I really don't, because it's nothing the Chiefs do. If they win 12 Super Bowls, it's not going to change the experience, the wild ride, the memories, the togetherness, the blood, sweat, tears, the content, everything that went into the Patriots double dynastic run. That was that time in my life. And there have been dynasties, Pittsburgh, 49ers, Dallas, and then obviously the Patriots and now the Chiefs. This is just how time progresses. Let me know when they enter their second decade of dominance, if they're able to sustain it with the same coach and the same quarterback through massive roster turnover. Then I'll start entertaining a dynastic showdown or debate. But right now, they're just great and they're to be admired. I don't know if the Eagles have the talent to do it. I also can't stand Eagles fans. They are truly the drink consumers at the Mos Eisley cantina of villainy and scum that is Lincoln Financial Field. Not a card carrying member. No, EAGLESSTFU. Not a fan. They're just sorry. But that all that being said, if they win, it's going to be the Saquon Barkley show, and he's going to end up being the Randy Moss of running backs, except this time when the person changes teams and has an all-time season, they win. And if it's the Chiefs, it's just going to be the genius of Reed, Mahomes, and the ball bouncing their way again. Little stat I read this morning, Mego, as we wrap the first leg here of Six Rings. Vic Fangio, the defensive coordinator, who's been a massive upgrade for the Eagles this season, as has obviously the health of Jalen Carter and adding guys like Cooper DeJean, et cetera. He is 0-8 all time against the Chiefs as a defensive coordinator and 2-6 against the spread. So if anyone is leaning Chiefs -1.5, history's on your side, guys.
Yuck. That's terrible.
History
Because
is on your side.
I just sat here saying, it's going to be all about the roster for the Eagles. I think that
Mhm.
plays into it, but that is a brutal record to bring into the Super Bowl.
Yeah, for sure. Any lingering thoughts from Champ Sunday? Empathy for Josh, enmity towards the Chiefs. How you feeling about the Eagles? You in on the Saquon props? By the way, the most bet prop, we'll do a huge propapalooza with Shime next week in anticipation of Super Bowl 59. Most bet prop to date, believe it or not, over 48.5 receiving yards for Dallas Goedert.
Interesting.
Yeah, I know. I was kind of unsure. It's not like I see the Chiefs and think, yeah, the one thing you can do is throw to the tight end on him. That's it. I thought that was an interesting
That's
one
a
too.
weird one. That feels obscure. We'll have to
Yeah.
get Shine's take on that. I think the one other thing that's going to be very much on my radar going into all the Super Bowl coverage is that the Eagles owner, Jeffrey Lurie, has reportedly emerged as one of in the running of bidding for the Celtics. And I spoke with Frank Rubin, who is a longtime columnist, works for NBC Sports Philadelphia and WIP radio out there, and has covered the Eagles since '87. And he said that that owner is expected to speak Monday, so at media day, and so he'll pepper him with questions about the Celtics process. So just not Patriots related, but certainly relevant to Boston sports, because I'm trying to do my research on this guy. If he emerges as a potential owner, it's a fascinating storyline to me.
It is, because he would own 2 teams in green. He obviously has a lot of it, but he is a native masshole as well. He's got 3 degrees from 3 different schools in Massachusetts. He's a Boston sports fan who just happens to own in Philadelphia. And to me, I don't care. I really don't. It wouldn't bother me in the least that the Eagles owner could be the majority owner of the Celtics, because what he's done is a really good job with fan service, with giving the resources and everything that needs to be allocated to his team to win. They're always a good team. I mean, they've been to a bunch of Super Bowls, the Andy Reid years as well. Shouldn't be discounted. And he's cut his teeth on ownership there. Like, he's done a great job there. If he takes the skills that he's developed, skills that would make him a really good professional sports franchise owner, and brings them to the Celtics party, I like it. So I'm in with you as well. All right, there's your first leg of 6 rings in football things, everybody. Champ Sunday recap and all things Eagles and Chefs. Will have so much more in this on the weeks to come. Make sure to give a follow to @6RingsPod and keep in touch with your old pals at FitzyGFY and at Megan_Ottolini for the latest and greatest. Moving on 6 Rings now, we're talking New England Patriots on a Pats pod, no less. Long overdue. Okay, Mego, everyone keeps talking about it. Feels weird to hear people on a local and national level speaking Pats positive. Everybody's kind of in on and behind all of these new coaching hires for the Patriots. They love Stretch, aka John Stryker, the new Ernie Adams, for Mike Vrabel, who came over from the Rams. Sean McVay said that loss really stung him. We got Terrell Williams, defensive coordinator, who's a violence first type of guy on the line, going to remold the defense, not more along lines of the Patriots, but what they had going for them when they had a pretty good defense from 18 to 23 in Tennessee. Got a new running backs coach, Thomas Brown, who went from pass game coordinator and QB's coach to OC to HC for the Bears during their tumultuous 2024 season. Now he's working with Josh. Everybody's fired up to have Josh McD back in the room as well. Like, they're, to me, and also Doug Marrone, who's a 2-time NFL head coach, has returned to the NFL. Now he's been heavily involved for the last several decades, but now he's the new offensive line coach. Could be the best one we've had since Scar. And by the way, I want to let you know, I am a Doug Marrone stan after I saw this clip, which recirculated from a couple years ago when he was coaching the Jags.
You love food, but you love terrible food because you're a big bologna guy.
I love bologna. Why is it terrible? Who labeled it terrible?
Now, when you say
labeled it terrible? That's what I want to know.
When you say you love bologna, you are underselling this, because you said that you think that you have eaten more bologna in the entire world than anyone else.
I really believe that.
So he loves what he won't put up with, bologna. I mean, you want to just say, you want to win the hearts of slobs all across Pat's Nation over. You say that you're bologna. It's a flat edible hot dog. Come on. But anyway,
I feel like bologna is generational. I barely ate bologna.
Are we out on bologna?
Up.
Really?
I don't know. I feel like I ate a lot more like turkey. I don't know. Maybe it was a family thing for me, where my family wasn't bologna forward, but I don't judge bologna.
No. She's a no judge. Oh, come on. Already first in the chats. We got people watching on Facebook. Boo on Josh McDaniels. All right, we've talked a bit about this here, but let's just Jeff Stenberg, a regular viewer on YouTube. Bologna is just hot dog pancakes.
That's
Perfect.
gross.
No, that's magical. I love it. My growing up, if it was Saturday morning, my dad would make like the lazy dad Saturday morning special, which was just like a bologna omelet. Just, throw a couple slices of Oscar Mayer in there, sizzle it up, crack a few eggs, whisk it around, maybe some cheese on top. Bam. Couldn't get any better than that. Anyway, so there are all these years now of head coaching experience involved in the room on every side of the ball for the Patriots. People feel like I heard one of the biggest takeaways is I can't believe how experienced the Patriots coaching staff is, that they have definitely potential to go from worst to not first, but competitive quickly. And two, the other question was, well, how come they didn't give this much? How come they didn't give this much experience to Gerard Mayo last year? Because he probably would have done a whole lot better if he had this many experienced adults in the room.
So I would say first, I think it is also important to note that two important members are departing the Patriots this offseason, which is Brian Belichick that we just learned, and Mike Pellegrino. They both won't be returning. With Mike Pellegrino in particular, that's somebody who worked with the defensive backs and will be a big loss to the staff. But to your question about why didn't they have a staff like this last year? Well, I think it's the difference between bringing in somebody. It is the definition of a program builder.
Yes.
When you bring in somebody who has their own connections throughout the league and says, if I come in and take this job, I'm going to do things my way, not in an aggressive way or a mean way or anything like that, a bullying way, as Vrabel has, saying, I'm going to work with you, but if I take this job, I want to build out my program on my coaching staff.
I'm the head coach. I have a vision.
Right.
Everyone is going to work with me to help. You have to, as head coach, you have to collectively share what I think we need to do going forward to make for the best football experience possible. And
so when you look at the situation that Gerard Mayo was in, especially when he was thrust into the head coaching position a year early, he was put in a position where he didn't have those contacts outside of the building, or he wasn't in a structure where he could assert himself to bring in exactly who he wanted. We all know they had to go through a dozen coordinator interviews to get an offensive coordinator in Alex Van Pelt. And that was a bit of an arranged marriage. So why didn't they do this last year? Well, I don't think it was as easy. I don't think that they had the force, the people connector, whatever you want to call it, in Mike Vrabel, who comes in and says, you guys got an idea. I got a list of people who I trust. What were we called them? Not Vrabra.
The Vrabros. Yeah, the Vrabros.
Yeah, he's got his own Vrabros. And I don't know if everybody that he's brought in or is bringing in terms of this awareness, the level of wealth they have, or wealth of knowledge that they have.
Right.
I don't know if it's all like his handpicked people, but it certainly seems to have his stamp of approval on everyone who's come in.
As he should. And it's, the more I hear and read people trying to like create a narrative, and listen, full disclosure, Mego and I both work in the murky waters of sports talk radio. But no, we don't just craft and concoct takes for the sake of engagement, bait, or dialogue, or clicks and likes. Every time I read and hear someone being like, "Oh no, this just reeks of craft." I don't even think that Vrabel wanted him in the first place. It's such nonsense. It's so ill-informed. Could and would and should have the organization been high on Josh McDaniels for a number of reasons beyond the fact that he would be affordable? Absolutely. But also, he's got the track record. You can't tell me there was another offensive coordinator this offseason who had a better track record as an OC, who's done better work grooming quarterbacks, or who would immediately know where to work, where everything is kept, and how things are done in Foxboro, especially given the fact the guy used to freaking call plays sometimes that even involved Mike Vrabel in the first place.
Yeah. And again, I think that the standards around here are justifiably very high for the Patriots. And the question is, when do they get back to the playoffs? When do they get back to championship weekend? And we get to come here on Monday and talk about the 2 weeks leading up to the Super Bowl.
Right.
But unfortunately, you are in the basement of the league right now. And if you want to get back to the first floor, the second floor, before you get up to the penthouse, you gotta start from somewhere. And
Exactly.
so that's kind of my feeling with Josh McDaniels. We've talked about this before. He brings a lot of stability, professionalism. He knows how to work with the crafts. He knows Vrabel. He knows quarterbacks. I think that his offense is going to evolve and look a little bit more different than people expect it to.
Mhm.
Everybody thinks that they know exactly everything that Josh McDaniels is about.
And they don't, because he's spent all this time tweaking his playbook, going to colleges, talking to different coordinators and coaches. He's not going to run the same offense. In fact, I was seeing things earlier on X that a lot of the people that are being brought in, they have a new quarterbacks coach as well. TC McCartney will not be returning, that they're kind of West Coastifying the coaching staff as well.
Mhm.
So they're going to stick with some things that Drake knows, but they're also going to incorporate plays, designs, and schemes that will take advantage of his laser rocket arm, his quick ability to process, of course, hence the West Coast offense, read and react, but his legs. Like, Josh has never been able, like, I guarantee you Drake May could have won a foot race right now against Cam Newton in 2020. Maybe not prime Cam Newton in 2012. We'll say 2012.
No.
No, hell no. That was a physical specimen, the likes of which we may never see again. But please open your mind to what Josh McDaniels might be able to do, not just living on what Josh McDaniels has done. And as far as roster building, Mego, the Patriots put out a little piece of, we'll call it, scout porn this week, as Elliott Wolf, Mike Vrabel, and new assistant GM, if you will, he's got a fancier title than that, Ryan Cowden, are all in attendance at the Senior Bowl. And speaking to your idea of it's Vrabel's vision and everyone else funnels their collective efforts and ideas and experience into that, I think this video totally rides sidecar to what you were saying.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't know if you were going to play it.
Well, we want to see it through the same lens, and sometimes, what we see is slightly different, and having conversations is important, but we got to make sure that we're bringing in great people, that we believe in the people, that we trust in the people, and that the ability also matches, how the level of trust that we have in the players and people that we bring in.
Someone in my position, it's good for me to, kind of put a face with a name, put a face with a tape, trying to see what these guys are all about and try to see if they'll fit our culture and what Coach Vrabel is trying to build.
I like to think as the personnel group, the scouts, pro, college, we're kind of a team, and it's our locker room. And the more you're around him, the more you understand what that means when he says this, or I know by his voice, his inflection.
See, to me, well, first thing I notice about that is that every other coach has either a hoodie or a quarter zip with a vest. Elliott Wolf has like the big winter coat on there. So it's just sort of like, ooh, someone's a little SAWFT.
Yeah, he's from Green Bay. So he just knows there's no such thing as bad weather, just bad clothing.
But also too, like you have your talent, your personnel evaluators, your talent guys, the roster builders, if you will, saying we have to learn to speak Vrabel. That's what we need to do. And Vrabel's there saying it's all, sharing the vision, establishing trust with your guys. And then they speak exactly to that. That's good work by Patriots socials for putting that out to try to sort of like be a nation builder and foster confidence and comfort in the fandom and media. But I choose to believe that that's exactly how they're working as they develop lockstep heading into the draft.
So speaking Vrabel, have you started workshopping a Vrabel impersonation yet? Because I was thinking it was really strong in that clip if you want to work on that, because he's got like a tightness to his jaw and he's got almost like a Midwestern flatness to his voice. So I'm just wondering if you've started working on that at all, because you need to have it ready probably by training camp when we start hearing a lot more from him. And I need you to be on top of that. There's something there.
I do, because I do some halfway decent to decently terrible impersonations of some other coaches.
Doesn't it feel like his jaw is a little tight and he's flat, not flat in like his delivery.
It's not full Midwestern. It's not like Ryan Cowden almost sounded like it's like he was teetering deep south as well.
Yeah, it sounded almost like a little bit Pennsylvania.
Yeah, like Werder. Also, just got to shout out my pal REV watching live on Facebook now. Says that the shared vision of all the coaches should be called Vrabel vision.
Okay.
Done deal. It is it. And here you go. Just to follow suit with that one, I guess you could say I'm a Vrabel guy. I'll juice you up. Don't worry about Did you ever see the movie Cable Guy?
I think I saw it too young and it really scared me. I saw it maybe when I was 10 or 11 because I thought
Right.
Jim Carrey was so funny. And then I was like, I don't get this.
It's
Freaked
it's
me
a
out.
dark movie. It's a pretty intense
Yeah.
movie for sure. So we feel good about the people they've brought in to evaluate the talent. We feel good about the people surrounding Josh. We believe that there is going to be an evolution in play calling and scheme. That's naturally what intelligent people with football experience would do as they adapt their system to fit the players around them and then help the players learn their system. Like, it's a two-way street. It's too logical, I think, for people to just spew forth as a narrative. So they have to overanalyze it and find things to punch holes in,
Well, I also understand the level of skepticism because of what the organization and the way that it's operated over the last 5 years, that for the most part, it looks chaotic and disorganized. So I understand a level of skepticism. I think there's different levels of being skeptical, cynical, and then really trying to craft your own idea of your conspiracy of what's happening. I don't know. Maybe there's some truth to that. Maybe there is a much heavier hand from the Crafts over the last couple of years than we know. But I think all I can do is look at it on its face right now and say that I think they're mostly making the right decisions.
Same.
It'll only be borne out once they start getting into OTAs, mini camp, and we start seeing what they actually have to work with.
Right. And just about every single spot is filled up now. So you got basically full staff heading into this weekend. We know Vrabel, and as we showed you in the video and you guys heard listening to the pod, that Vrabel and the personnel evaluators are all at the Senior Bowl, which is great. We're big fans of Jim Nagy and all that work they do down there. Well, I'll end with this little nugget note here. You wanted to give a shout to Drake May as well, considering that he made his Pro Bowl as an alternate taking over for Josh Allen, which is great. To which I say, if you want to help Drake May out, obviously you draft fat guys. You get big guys to protect him, support him, and prevent him from getting hurt. Please, I do this every year. The last 2 years in a row, I've had my heart broken because we know, or at least we believe, Josh McDaniels is going to get a pass-catching running back, and he's probably going to get a real third-down elite guy to get open in a phone booth, as they like to say, for him. I'm not sure if that guy is Pop Douglas. 2 years ago, I fell in love with Tank Dell. I begged the Patriots to draft him. They didn't. He went to Houston. Whenever he's healthy, and he is injury prone, but when he's healthy, he's a baller. Last year, I begged them to draft Ladd McConkey. What did he do? Have one of the 5 best rookie wide receiver seasons in NFL history. Right now, Senior Bowl executives are describing Oregon wide receiver Tez Johnson, who I have had a crush on, if you will, for a couple of years now. He was the #1 target of Bo Nix. They're describing him as a fusion of Tank Dell and Ladd McConkey. Please, Bowden, Everett Wolf, Vrabel, hear my words. Fall in love with and draft Tez Johnson, please.
Where do you think Tez is going to go is the important question.
Right now they have him comped early third. I know a team that has 2 third-round draft picks and has 1 significant need for a receiver of his talent.
Okay, listen, I'm not going to doubt your record here. So I think that we should all go in on that. It sounds like it was a receiver that was made in the Fitzy lab compared to the last 2 seasons, what you've wanted. So again, I'm not going to argue with your record. I wasn't sitting there saying get Tank Dell, get Ladd McConkey. I've been sitting there for the past 2 seasons saying get some guys for the offensive line. That's all I've been saying. Get some tackles, get some tackles, get some tackles.
Get some big guys, big boys up front, trench beef, please, yes, and thank you. And anything you want to offer to Drake, the newly engaged and well-traveled Drake May, before we go?
Oh, I would say take your time wedding planning. You know, I recently went through planning and executing a wedding, and I found it not to be an incredibly stressful process, actually. I found it because just take it day by day, much like you answer in your media press conferences, just trying to get a little bit done every day, stacking days. That's wedding planning. You don't have to have your venue and everything decided in the first 6 weeks like Chris Scheim did. Scheim already basically has everything done. So he's crazy.
He's crazy like that. I went through it for a year and a half, my word. To only learn to know what I know now and take it back to then. I still don't know if I'd want to do it all over again. We're going to probably try to do like a 20th and then just do like a small a small redo, just like to everyone that we forgot to invite or that we couldn't make room for all
Or
the
that you've
songs we
met along
wanted
the
to
way.
play and the people that we've met along the way. Just gonna, who are we kidding? I'm gonna rent a brewery and invite a bunch of people to have a good time. And hopefully we'll be talking about the Patriots back in the playoffs at Fitzy's 20th wedding celebration next year. Ooh, by the way, good name from a regular viewer on Facebook, Scott Latham, Xavier Restrepo. That's another receiver who I think would look good in Pat's colors as well. Mego, great job. I'm so thrilled that you could make a little time in your very busy schedule to join us today. Guys, give her a follow at Megan_Ottolini for great Celtics coverage, great articles at .com, great weekend radio as well. And of course, phenomenal football input here on Six Rings. This is your old pal, Nick Fitzy Stevens, a.k.a. the notorious at FitzyGFY. Thanking you once again for tuning in to the latest Six Rings and football things brought to you by WEI Odyssey and 2400 Sports. So many more pods coming your way before SB59. Who's it going to be? We want to hear from you guys. Holler at us at Six Rings Pod anytime. Until the next episode, good day. God bless. Make sure you subscribe.